All right, well, welcome, guys. Ignore the slide. This is actually DES 344, Advanced Print Production, and we are in our third session of week 3. Since we're keeping it consistent with the threes, repeating all the way through 3 weeks, or week 3, third session type deal. And like I said in our previous sessions together, this is not going to be anything super duper formal. This is more going to be, let me change this to the appropriate slide so you can see. This is more going to be getting it done, tips, tricks, and make it works. And this is basically going to be just about a 40-minute kind of info session. Kind of the tips, the tricks, the make it works that you as a designer might benefit from knowing, not only in your waning days of being in the program, but also when you get out and you're engaging in active professional practice. So kind of one of the deep, dark secrets of being a designer is that we speak often, especially in the academic setting, so in school, about how important design process is, how important it is to go through steps, to sketch, to think, to research, to consider all of your options, all of that, and how 98% of the time, if you go through process, process will reward you and the work will come and the work will be good. So that is, in theory, how it works. And I think, in theory, it's a good thing, and I think it does work. I am, the number one proponent of design process. That said, sometimes, I was going to say, I'm sure no one can relate to this, ha ha ha. Sometimes in professional practice, just like in school practice, you have the world's best intentions, but life happens. Kids get sick, you get sick, you hit traffic, the car breaks down, metaphorically or actually, whatever. And just things happen that hijack your creative process and the space that you need creatively to kind of explore and research and whatever. And so rather than kind of just freak out and say, I can't do this, I quit, I'm going to hopefully give you a couple tips and tricks, kind of things to think about, kind of ways to create quickly that will never replace a good design process, but that will aid you in just delivering a piece when you need to deliver a piece. So here's another kind of deep, dark secret of design. Sometimes you just won't make great work. And if you have a client, sometimes you just won't give them your best. And that's actually okay. That's kind of life. Every time you come up to bat, you can't hit a home run. And so having a good, just kind of an arsenal of like, okay, I think life right now is not going to enable me to make, the stellar A++ work. How can I just get it done and move on? And, this is for school, this is for professional life, all these kind of things. So this is the extremely long-winded way to introduce it. But yeah, for the next kind of 40-ish minutes together, I'm just going to kind of do some make it work moments for assessment 2 in particular. And then kind of talk a little bit about how we can carry through kind of the make it work moment for assessment 2 into assignment 3, which is for this week, which is the folder as well as the CD drive, CD drive, and then also into week 4, which is going to be the postcard that we're doing. So this is for everybody. If you're like, well, I already got, I'm good. I manage my time well, so therefore I don't need to listen. Listen anyways, because, bravo, pat yourself on the back for being in a good spot. But if you're in a good spot this time, you know, maybe just listen and see like if things don't align as well next time. You know, you might learn this kind of stuff, or just learn from it. You know, you never know. I think all tips, all inspiration, all tricks for sure are good to know when you're on the professional journey. Okay, so, and also if you're like, yeah, I'm a little bit behind and it's okay, you know, listen, and you can, you know, if you want to do what I'm going to show you how to do, that would be totally cool. And you can, you know, catch up sooner than later. All right, so let's look at just a quick peek into Assessment 2. So basically, Assessment 2, print production in Adobe Illustrator. So you were to create a poster that was going to promote the band Cloud Sunbeam and use things like a spot varnish or a foil application and kind of put that into the poster. So Illustrator 11 by 17, process colors plus at least one spot varnish or spot foil. Process colors basically means work it in CMYK mode as opposed to RGB, so that's all that entails. And then here's the kind of overview of the info. So the band name is Cloud Sunbeam. Genre is electronic / dance. Client design requests, abstract art. Geometric shapes, bright color, ethereal imagery. Client has no preference on color scheme or font choice. And here's the poster text. Client also apparently has no concept of a calendar since Friday, March 5th and Saturday, March 7th. Not quite sure what happened to the 6th, but it's okay. You know, as designers, we use what is given to us, and we kind of go that route. Okay, so Cloud Sunbeam, basically what we're doing, and then Mountain Park presents Cloud Sunbeam. This is the required text. This is all just to guide you in your thinking. So what I'm going to show is basically how to just take a photo that's kind of a stock photo, and then just do a couple kind of touch-up-y manipulations, abstract-y stuff to it, using Photoshop actually, and then saving the file, bringing it into Illustrator, and then just knocking out the text that's going to go on the background for the poster. So kind of the reason I'm going to take you this route as far as the tips, tricks, and make it works is because in the brief itself for Cloud Sunbeam, they really emphasize this idea of abstraction, this idea of kind of ethereal imagery, this idea that you know, it doesn't need to look like anything. It doesn't look like a thing. And then also geometric shapes. So when I hear those words, I think to myself, you know, if it needs to look abstract-y, if it doesn't need to look like a thing, why not, you know, have some fun in Photoshop? It's pretty easy to make something pretty crazy. It's also pretty quick to make something pretty crazy. So why not just make a base image in Photoshop, you know, slap it into the background, put some text on it, and call it a day. So that's kind of my thinking. So that's what we're going to enact here in this session. So what we're going to do for imagery is we are going to go to my new favorite website for free stock photography, and that is called pexels.com. That's PEXELS.com, and super cool, super easy. Okay, so the best free stock in one place, and I would actually 100% agree. I've been very, very impressed. This is just kind of a couple examples. Like it's so cool, and I love it. Okay, so Cloud Sunbeam. I think I'm going to go the obvious easy and do a search on clouds and just kind of see what that's going to bring up. Ooh, look at that. So, and then just do a browse. And the idea, again, like I said, is I'm going to take one of these images, take it into Photoshop, do some crazy to it with the targeted idea that oh, look at those sunbeams coming through, with the targeted idea that it's going to create kind of an abstract kind of quality image. So I like it. I like it. I think I'm going to go with this one. And if you're wondering, like, why did you choose this one as opposed to, you know, the 75 others? Totally gut feeling. There's nothing, there's nothing deep and reasonable behind it. My gut just said, pretty clouds. I think I want those. So I'm just going to do a control click, and I'm going to do save image as, and I just want to save it on my desktop. And so what I'm thinking is I might layer up a couple images. So I'm actually not just going to take one. They're free, so why not take more? Let's see what else is here. So isn't this like phenomenal what you can see? Oh, that's cool. That's a little scary. Although actually this image, totally know how to make that in Photoshop, and I'm sure you guys do too, so kind of cool. All right, so I kind of want something with sunbeams coming on through. Maybe this guy, kind of cool. Let's try looking for one more thing. Maybe we can try sunbeams and see if that will give us anything that's an actual idea. So we always want to think, you know, how are we going to composite? What might give it that good abstract feel? How can we kind of, you know, map the two images together? Oh, that's kind of cool too. So let's see, this one. Yeah, I think I like this one better. So let's grab this as well. Okay, so control, click, save image as, and I'm just saving directly to my desktop, mostly because then I can find it easiest. You could save to downloads, you could save to your images, whatever your system is, kind of go with that. Okay, so I have my two pictures. What I'm going to do now is jump into Photoshop, where we can actually work on compositing them together and creating something that just feels a little bit more abstract, so not quite so literal. And I mean, that's not to say that you couldn't just use something completely literal, because kind of inherent in these pictures of clouds and sun and all that's going on, it is pretty, yeah, it is pretty abstract. So you could get away with that. That would probably be one step even easier. But come on, you know, we're designers. We like to play around a little bit. And to just kind of take a stock photo and really put kind of your own stamp on it. Like, I think that's kind of fun as well. Okay, so we're going to do create new. And here's just one thing to be aware of if you are working in Photoshop, and that is that you just want to make sure that your color mode is set to CMYK. So it will naturally default you to RGB, but because we are going to be designing in Illustrator in CMYK, it's just going to make our lives easier if we just start off initially in CMYK in Photoshop. So just make sure you're changing that color mode to CMYK. And then it will also make our lives easier if we design at the size that we need for Illustrator. So we're going to do 11 inches wide by 17 inches high. And you can keep resolution at 300, that's fine. So kind of put that up there. And what we're going to do is drop our image in. So we're going to do File and Place Embedded. I had a moment where I was thinking in InDesign terms, and I forgot the proper language. Okay, so we're going to place, and it's going to do its thing. Converting colors, bringing it into CMYK. So kind of the genius with working with a client who says something like, I want it to be super abstract and wild, is that you can listen to them, you can do that. And so let's place embedded, and you can really enjoy the play factor of it. Okay, so place embedded, and get that in there. And you'll see that we have our two images over here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of play around with this. Let's get into a fuller mode. So this is actually a pretty cool image, and we could just have the type kind of coming out of it. But we're going to do something a little more fun. So I'm going to just make it big. And again, I know we were talking quite a bit about the importance of image resolution and, not doing stuff that's blurry, what have you. Again, that's good to know, but since we are working in kind of an abstract manner, if it's a little bit blurry, maybe that's all part of the look, what have you. So I'm actually going to duplicate this image. So I'm just going to drag it down, put it down here, and I'm going to just save this is a duplicate essentially that I'm not going to touch, just in case I do something that I don't like, and I want to go back. So I always have that. Okay, so hue saturation. I'm going to just apply a couple blending modes to it to see kind of what I could do. First thing is hue saturation, so I'm just going to try to change up the background color. Ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea to have a pink sky, but I like how it looks. So again, I'm going to just clip it to the layer. So it only applies to this guy. Then I'm going to copy this again and pull this one out. And then I'm going to try a blending mode. Ooh, multiply, see how that looks. Oh, and look at that. Okay, so, you can get some really cool effects. And the reason that this is happening is because hue saturation is only applied to this lower layer, and then the one that's above it is still the initial, well, it's still the blue, and it's a blue set to multiply. If it was a blue set to normal, it would look like that. But because it's set to multiply, it's got kind of that opacity to it where you're seeing the colors through. And oops, sorry about that. It's kind of going a little bit wonky. But yeah, so look at this. It's almost like we suddenly got this super cool tie-dye effect. And what did we do? We got a stock photo. We opened it in, what program are we in? We opened it in Photoshop. We applied a hue saturation transformation. We just copied the image one more time, turned on multiply, and suddenly we have this thing that feels like a hybrid between like kind of cotton candy meets tie-dye. Feels like clouds. It feels very kind of ethereal. So super cool. Okay, so we're gonna turn on this next layer. I'm also gonna just keep a copy of that guy, just in case. I always find that it's good to have a copy just in case you need it. Okay, overlay did nothing, so let's try something different. Hard light. Ooh, look at that. That just like increased our wildness layered factor. And pretty cool. And I'm usually, again, the #1 proponent of not stretching images. If it's going to be abstract anyway, if you're just going to create it as a background, if it doesn't need to look like something, who's to say it's going to be stretched or distorted? Like, just play and see what happens. Okay, I kind of really like how this is turning out. Okay, so we're going to take off the transform control to see. I think I actually like it down here because you kind of see the sky, or I'm sorry, you kind of see those clouds coming through. You kind of see the light. Kind of cool how it's working this way. Okay, so again, what did I do? I just have this image that I had brought in, and then I just put it to hard light. We could try a couple of these other blending modes. Woo, and just see what happens. I always feel like with these blending modes, like I can tell you in theory what they're supposed to do, but because they operate, because they operate in relation to whatever's underneath them, you never know what it's actually going to look like until you actually try it. So, because it all depends on using the lights and darks of the image. well, of the images that are below it. So it's, you know, it's just fun, I think, to look through all of them. And they all have such different effects. Like, look at how cool that is. We suddenly went to like icy snow, as opposed to, you know, what happened before. So, and again, ooh, that's kind of cool too. And again, I chose, I skewed the hue saturation so that it would be a little different overall. I'm trying to think where was I at? I think I was at hard light in the beginning. So when you have something you like look at, I've literally been playing around for maybe six or 7 minutes, not very long. And I came up with something that feels, you know, kind of abstracty, kind of crazy. I can go with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to save this. So File, Save As, and go to save it as something we'll remember. So let's just do like poster background.psd. Okay. One kind of caveat kind of thing to note is this will be a pretty large file because we're playing with blending modes, we're playing in Photoshop, all those sorts of things. So, you know, if it takes a little bit to save, that's okay. So just going to keep that in mind. But yeah, so cool. I love it. Okay, so what we're going to do next is open up Illustrator and get this poster making party started, where we're going to actually create an Illustrator. And the reason that we're going to use Illustrator, well, aside from the fact that it's how the assignment says to do it, is because we are going to put in a kind of an advanced text effect or printing effect, I should say, as the assignment specifies. And so you can't really indicate those effectively using Photoshop. So it's just easier to do Illustrator and kind of keep us in that track. Okay, so just a couple seconds, and we'll go to New. And we will go to Tabloid, Create, with the bleed, which is even better. All right, and then we're going to just do File, Place, and find our file that is background. There it is. And click Place. And then just click once, and it should be the correct size. And just double check mine is, but CMYK is what we want to go in. Because again, as we have stated in our sessions, when you're on screen, most likely you won't be able to tell, but your printer will be able to tell. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in the right ways. Okay, so here is our background for our poster. And you'll see it's on our layer, so it's on layer 1. What I would recommend that you do is just lock this layer and then create a new one on top of it. And the only reason I would say do this is because when you manipulate your text, kind of move boxes, you know, if you put any shapes over this, etc., it's kind of annoying if the background keeps on moving. So it's a personal preference thing. If you want to label your layers, that's best practice. But yeah, that sort of thing. So I just like, if it's a background, if it's meant to be the background, put it as the background and lock it so you don't have to worry about potentially, you know, just moving it or shifting it or something. Okay, so we're going to grab our type one more time. Apparently it's none of those, so that must mean it's still open. Let's minimize this guy. And let's minimize this guy. There it is. Okay, so it's going to need to say Mountain Park presents Cloud Sunbeam, Friday, March 5th and Saturday, March 7th, Waterfront Park at 8 p.m. Okay, so here's another kind of down and dirty trick for just setting type. So when you have kind of a scheme, kind of a series of words that you need to set, it kind of helps if you think about them proportionately. So Cloud Sunbeam is the name of the band. It needs to be the biggest thing. And then the dates and where it's at is like kind of the next important thing. And then the Mountain Park Presents is kind of the least important. So when you think about this, think about Cloud Sunbeam is like the biggest, and everything else is going to be kind of proportionately sized accordingly. And this is just so that you're attracted to the name of the band first and foremost, so that it kind of captures your attention, based on contrast and such. So Cloud Sunbeam is like the biggest. So the dates are going to be no more than half of the size of Cloud Sunbeam, just proportionately. And then Mountain Park Presents is going to be no more than half the size of the dates. So, we'll see this played out visually, but if it helps for you to think kind of in proportions, Cloud Sunbeam biggest, dates no more than half of the bigness of Cloud Sunbeam. Mountain Park Presents no more than half of the bigness of the dates. So that's kind of where we're going. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, grab our type tool and just click on our layer and just write Cloud Sunbeam or copy paste it. Okay, world's most boring font, so we're definitely not going to use that in this whole thing. But we are going to check out our font book. I'm going to go see what we want. I kind of know what I want because I've been using it everywhere because I love it. At some point I will be tired of it, but that point has not come yet. Okay, so we have Cloud Sunbeam. And what I'm actually going to do is make it even bigger. And this is again, and then I'm going to work with the manipulations of word relationship. So I just want to decrease my leading so that it really looks like an object. Ooh, I like that. The U and the B kind of coming together. How would it look if we skewed it even more? How would it look if we just put them all the way? Ooh, it's kind of hard to read, but I kind of like it at the same time. Oh, so cool. Okay. And then, think positionally where you want to put it. Let's see, I think I want it really big, and I think I want it at the bottom. Okay. All right, so, and just, see what you like, see what you can go with. So we're going to change up the colors, but before we do that, we are going to put the other pieces of type in so I can kind of show you what I meant by that whole proportionate thing. Okay, so you can see here that Cloud Sunbeam, let's change the color of this to a color that we actually aren't using in here, which maybe I'll just change it to white. Oops. Okay, so let me draw a box and then change it to a color that we're not really using. Okay, so you can see here Cloud Sunbeam is about this tall. So we want our dates and times and things to, when we're gauging our size, we want them to be probably about like this, to take up probably about this much kind of height. And that's just, again, so proportionately, so this remains like it's kind of the main event. And I think it feels like it's just a little bit low. So about this height, and it will make sense as soon as I start typing. And I'm actually going to copy. It's always better to copy and paste than it is to write out, because guarantee you don't think you're going to make any spelling errors or transcription errors or whatever, but you kind of will. Everybody does. And I was working on a professional project last night, and I thought for sure I had copied it perfectly, and then there were like a million spelling errors that were kind of unfortunate. So copy, paste. Okay, Friday, March 5th and Saturday, March 7th, Waterfront Park. And we're just going to zip it down a little bit. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, because do you want to, we don't want to use this font, so I'm going to just put it to Gotham. But do you want to, I don't want to use italic either. Friday, March 5th, Saturday, March 7th. Do you want that on the same line, or do you want to split it? I think I kind of want to split it. In which case, you're probably saying, well, Lisa, it's a little bit bigger now than your box that you just told us about. Yeah, it is a little bit bigger, but I think it actually works okay. So it's all perceived perceived sizes. Okay, so we got that in there, and then what we want finally is Mountain Park Presents. So we're just going to copy that in, put this up, paste it in, and that looks actually just about the perfect size. Okay. All right, so now we got kind of the proportions. So 100% is this guy. And look at that, it's about 3/4, I'd say, of the size, which works for me. I said no more than half, but 3/4 is pretty close. Again, it's all kind of based on feel. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just change up the color, and in theory, and potentially change up the font. But in theory, I think we got a pretty good deal going on here. Okay, so I'm going to change this to white because you really can't read the black. Oh, and we're going to put the specialty print effect on there too. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. It's got a pretty nice amount of contrast. I think what I might try doing is just changing these to all caps just to see how that might look. So again, I'm just clicking character panel up here. I know I've got it down here, but this is just easier to work with for me. So I'm going to try all caps. Do I like it? Do I not like it? I think I kind of like it. The other thing I'm going to try too is just changing up the font. I'm going to try Lee Gothic. And the reason I'm changing it up is because it's a condensed face. So it tends to fit just a little bit better visually. It's not quite as wide. And I kind of want it in this little black or dark area. So again, I'm going to do something which normally would be completely off the table, and that's distort the image. But because it's an abstract, it's distorted anyway, I'm just going to go for it. So I can get my type positioned where it's pretty dark. Okay, works for me. All right, and then I'm going to change this to also Lee Gothic. So again, just take my little eyedropper, click, turns it in. You really can't see it, so that's not going to be the optimal color for it. What if it's black? Yeah, I like it. Okay, we're going to change this up. I think, or are we just going to lighten it? Oh, actually, no. You know what we're going to do with this guy? This is actually going to be our specialty finish. So we're going to keep this black, and then I'm going to just make one more of these on its own layer. Oops. So, and then paste. And we're going to actually make this foil. Layer. And what we're going to do is, so we indicated that here, we put it on its own layer, like gold, maybe silver. So that we've given our printer this indicator that, what's a specialty finish? It's right here, and it's going to be the letters in silver. And so even though you're looking at this and you're like, wait, what? If you imagine those, so use your imaginations. If you imagine those in kind of a sparkly feel, it'll instantly kind of set itself off from the rest of the background, and it'll just give it that kind of elevated look, something a bit different. So one other thing we might do, but here we're good. We're good overall. So let me just save it, and then I'll go down the track of one other thing we could try. So save as, last name, poster 2, and you can save it as whatever it's specified as in the assignment. I can't quite remember, but it's saving. And like I said, it's going to be big, so just know that off the bat. Anytime you tend to mix file formats. So when you put, well, anytime you mix a Photoshop, you bring a Photoshop into an Illustrator, things tend to get kind of large. So just a little heads up. And then we're going to do file package. And again, very important that you package, especially if you are using somewhat obscure fonts, which for this assignment, like, use the obscure fonts, it's great. But yeah, if you're using obscure fonts, because your printer probably won't have them, so you want to make sure that they've got what they need. So show package contents, look at this, links, there's links, there it is. It's just like an InDesign. And then fonts, here's Lee Gothic. Okay, so, oh, I know, because Milka is a Typekit font, which means it's accessible through the internet. But yeah, super easy, so there it is. Okay, so one other thing that's always good to include, which I don't know why they don't include it in the package, but also put in a PDF. And the reason that you want to put in a PDF is just so that your printer sees what it looks like in kind of a quote-unquote baked version, so that they know kind of how it's supposed to look on their computers. Because for whatever reason, every once in a while, software, when you open it from a Mac to a PC or vice versa or something, may not appear quite as perfect as one would hope. So just kind of a good thing to be aware of. Okay, so one other thing I was thinking, well, before we get into that, yeah, I mean, so we just, we knocked out this poster in about 25-ish minutes. And again, like, this isn't anything that's, deeply wonderful, whatever, but I actually really like it. So I am kind of having mixed feelings because I think it looks pretty awesome overall. But yeah, so this just goes to show that if you find yourself in kind of a make it work moment, you don't have to put a ton of time into these things. You don't have to stress, and even more, you don't have to say, I'm not going to be able to get it done, therefore I'm not going to do anything. No, you don't have to say that. You can say, all right, I'm a designer. Like, I got the challenge. I got this tiny window of time. What can I do in this tiny window of time, and how can I make it work? Like, you guys totally, you totally have this. So use this, give this a try. And even if you've already completed your poster, just give yourself like the 30-minute challenge of what could I make quickly, knowing what I know now, having created that first poster, whatever, just playing in Photoshop, bringing it into Illustrator, just kind of, moving in that direction, what might happen. So kind of cool and kind of fun. Okay, so let me get back to the one thing I was going to say. Is it feels slightly hard to read to me with the oops, that's a silver foil layer. Let's lock that and get out of it. Feels slightly hard to read to me still with this this placement. So what I'm going to do is send back and dial down opacity and see if that gives it just a little bit more kind of oomph. Or is that too much? Is it rounding it too much? Is it rounding it just enough? Oops. I don't know. Would it be better if it was? So this is like a 2.0. Then you can start playing around with just a couple other elements and just seeing what you might see, seeing what you might create in these ways. So let's do, if this was at 90, if this was not even this color, if this was the color of this guy. Oh, how could we just even build some more layers in as far as what we're making? What if this was kind of a greenish color? What would that look like? Oh, look at that. And it's just shapes. It's just shapes in Illustrator, like nothing more. They could be, glosses if you wanted them to be, but I don't want them to be. I just want them to be shapes, just shapes. Happy with that. 70. Okay, so super cool. Love it. and I'm saving it again so I don't lose it. But yeah, so again, once you have the bare minimum, then just say, okay, 2 more minutes. What else could I do to this? And how else could I just kind of play and shift and kind of make it work? And again, this is totally, this is gut reaction. And you guys have good guts that you can trust as far as you're designing. You've been around long enough to have confidence in yourself. But yeah, just kind of see what could happen, see what could come out of this. All right. Well, true to my word, looks like we're about 40 minutes in, so we will bring things to a close. But yeah, hopefully the getting it done tips, tricks, and make it works is helpful to you. And so, as I said, the hard truth is every project is not going to be like your magnum opus of the best thing ever. Sometimes you will just need to make it work. And the great thing about being a designer is we are all inherently quite creative, and we know how to use the software. And even more, we know how to really kind of think holistically. So I would encourage you, to try this, whether you haven't done anything yet for this course, or whether you've already turned in your poster and you kind of want to just try something different. You never know what's going to happen. So again, breakdown of steps, what I did. I went on to pexels.com, Pexels.com. I found 2 stock photos, free, downloaded them, brought them into InDesign. I played with my hue and saturation settings. I played with my blending modes. I layered them up a little bit. I rotated one, and then I found something that felt pretty abstract and chaotic. And then I saved it up, brought it into Illustrator, put some type on it in a pretty minimal fashion, saved that up, packaged it, and essentially called it a day. So yeah. All right, well, have fun, guys. Enjoy the process. And if you do give this a try, please let me know, kind of share what you come up with. All right, well, take care, everyone. As usual, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I will look forward to seeing you again next week and kind of wrapping this course up. All right, see you guys.